This is Mon Health Talk, a weekly program focusing on the dedicated physicians, nurses, and staff at Mon Health, the region's premier community hospital system. People with skillful hands and bright minds using state-of-the-art technology. We don't just practice medicine, we care for people like family. That's why at Mon Health you can feel the difference. Once again, welcome to this edition of Mon Health Talk.
Good morning. Welcome into the program, Mon Health Talk. I'm Dave Wilson, and today we're going to spend some time talking about something you're going to see on your ballot in Monongalia County, and that is the Mon EMS levy. How does that factor into Mon Health? Well, here to provide some insights for us this morning is Mon EMS Executive Director, Forrest Weyen. Forrest, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Hey, thanks for stopping by, buddy. We'll get into the what Mon EMS is all about, the EMS levy, but you do not escape the first round of questioning here on the program because we like to get to know our guests a little bit. So you get to talk about yourself for a few minutes this morning. Forrest, tell us about your background, where you're from, where you went, how you ended up back here in Morgantown with Mon EMS.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Greenbrier County, down in White Sulphur Springs. Joined a local EMS service down there. Like a lot of folks in West Virginia, I moved to Morgantown to go to college. While I was doing that, I decided I really liked that EMS thing, so I decided to pursue that and became a paramedic while I was doing my undergrad and my grad school. During that time, I really found an affinity for understanding the back end of the business, and really enhanced my curiosity. And really got me excited about that. So worked my way up into administration and was a field provider here in Mon County till about 2005, 2006, worked my way up into various supervisory roles and that type of thing. Since that time, I've worked internationally, building some EMS systems. I moved to Pittsburgh. I was in Kentucky for a while. I lived in New England, lived in the Middle East for a while, all doing very similar work in various aspects. I worked for both hospital systems, nonprofits. I've worked in both a volunteer and a career capacity. I've worked for state governments. And then when the merger happened and this new Mon EMS was established, I was recruited to come back here and lead this new venture.
Will you explain? We like to use the term first responders for obviously the men and women who show up on scene first, whether it's a medical emergency, a car accident, a crime scene. But paramedics are a very specific type of first responder. Explain what a paramedic does and the qualifications to be a paramedic.
So there's a couple different levels. One is it gets down in the weeds a little bit, but there are multiple levels of first responders. There are those that provide basic bleeding control, basic first aid, CPR, AED, things that can start your heart, that type of thing, that a lot of lay people are trained in just normal CPR classes. And then there are some national certifications that certain organizations like Morgantown Fire, like they have emergency medical responders, which is a certification level, which allows them to do certain things, administer a really small amount of drugs. The next level up is an emergency medical technician. That is once it's a national certification, also a state certification that comes along with it. That gives you more medications to give to patients, more skills, more abilities. That's about 250 hours of classroom and didactic along with ride time. And then once you actually get your certification, it's like a medical residency where you become a doctor. You still have time before they actually clear you to be a real doctor.
Right.
Same thing in EMS. So you become an EMT, and then at a certain point in time, we put you in the field and get you polished and be a true independent clinician. Paramedic is the top level of that. Basically, they have access to all of the equipment in the ambulance. We can do things like defibrillate your heart. We can pace your heart. We can put a tube down your throat to help you breathe, to secure your airway. All the medications that West Virginia allows us to carry, paramedics can give. We can start IV drips, titrate medicines, work on our paramedics can use ventilators, all that type of thing. So there's multiple levels, and basically in Mon County, most of the time you end up having an EMT and a paramedic on an ambulance, so that we have both a basic and advanced life support provider. So you have the availability of the highest level if needed, but both of those work as a team to provide that care.
Let's talk about Mon EMS. I think there's a misperception, and it's an easy misperception, that Mon EMS is a county entity, a branch of the county commission, and it makes sense in the name, but that is not the case. So what is Mon EMS?
Mon EMS, in its current state, is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are an organization that in 1981 or around about that time, I don't have the dates exact, but Mon Health had acquired what was then Montague County EMS to be the county's 911 service. And for the last 40 years, they did that. And then for a variety of reasons, WVU Medicine started WVU Health Team in, I don't know the exact date, you all probably do, but I think it's in the 2016 range. And what ended up happening is there was a ton of duplication of services, a lot of redundancy, inefficiencies, and Mr. Goldberg at Mon Health and Albert Wright at WVU Medicine got together and realized that a lot of the folks, if Dave Wilson, if you've always you were born and raised in Morgantown, and you've always went to Hospital A, you call 911. More than likely, you'll go to Hospital A. If you've always went to Hospital B, you're typically always going to go to Hospital B. And those two gentlemen got together and realized there were a ton of inefficiencies, a ton of duplication, and a real opportunity. We know, I think Mon Health and WVU Medicine are both fantastic health systems, and I think that there are places that they compete. There's places they coexist, and Mon EMS is a place where they collaborate, which is fantastic. Mon EMS was born out of that to become an independent 501c3 nonprofit that is supported by both health systems, but we're agnostic to both. So regardless of where you want to get your care, we will take you to that facility. What's really impressive about this is that, and then also, Mon County, EMS in West Virginia is a county responsibility. So in-state rule says that a county has to have a plan for emergency medical services. It also says that there's also other little language in there that makes it difficult for them to find ways to pay for it, but it says that they have to do it. So we also, because we serve the citizens of Mon County, we report to the county commission. I give them frequent updates. I keep them abreast of issues when things like the Hope Hill, when the roof blew off the homeless shelter. Like, we're in constant contact with them with a ton of things. So Mon EMS is a service that is here to provide the citizens of Mon County with emergency medical care. That is, I think, a truly efficient model. And to be very frank, Dave, the fact that I've got two health systems that we all know compete, work together in this thing, in this new thing called Mon EMS. I've gotten calls from my colleagues around the company saying, like, how do you get that to happen? There's a ton of places where health systems won't work together and won't collaborate, won't innovate. And the fact that these two health systems have done that and allowed Mon EMS to build a really efficient EMS system is really awesome.
About how many employees do you have?
Right now, we're getting close to about 150 employees.
And they service all of Monongalia County, whether you're in Star City or Westover, Morgantown, or you're out in Blacksville. It's the entire
from Wadestown county to Cooper's Rock and the PA line all the way down to the Marion County line. Yes, sir.
So about how many calls a year let's narrow that down because that's a lot of the calls. A week. How many calls are you dealing with weekly?
I'll take it even smaller.
Okay.
Is that we average about 25,000 calls a year. So I'll go with your first question. Right now, we're trending upwards. We're hitting about 80 some a day, in the 80 range. About 70% of those are 911 calls. So we do a variety of 911, and we also do non-emergency transport for both of our health systems. That is a little bit of our revenue stream. But 70% of those, that 80, it ends up becoming is 911 calls for the county, from the things at Jake's Run Road out to Tyrone Road or Little Indian Creek. We're everywhere.
So I'll tell you what, I want to take a break, and we're going to get into some weeds here, but
that's okay.
They're important weeds to get into. We'll continue our conversation with Forrest Weyen, Executive Director with Mon EMS. You're listening to Mon Health Talk on WAJR.
Now back to Mon Health Talk, a discussion of the issues, people, and procedures in healthcare today. If you have a question for one of our healthcare guests, call now at 304-296-0041.
Forrest Weyen is joining us this morning on Mon Health Talk. He's Mon EMS Executive Director. If you live in Monongalia County, maybe you've already gone to the ballot. Apparently a little over 3,800 of you have during early voting. But on the ballot, there is an excess levy to support Mon EMS. And Forrest, give me the Cliff Notes version of what that levy is about and what it supports?
Absolutely. So, yes, we have been working with the county commission for now a better part of 2 years. We went to them a while ago and discussed the readiness costs in Montague County, what it takes to make sure that ambulances are available for you when you need them. And it's a really hard thing to get your head around because we are a medical provider and we are able to bill insurance for reimbursement. But at the end of the day, where it gets really complicated is we all need, regardless of how many ambulances are doing moving patients and treating patients, that type of thing, you and I, something happens to you and I here in the studio, we want to call an ambulance and have one down the street or have one in a reasonable amount of time. And there's always going to be a cost for that. There's always going to be a cost to make sure that resources are available when you need them. And we get it. We base our staffing and our unit availability on data, historical data, seasonality, whether or not students are in town, all that type of thing. And frankly, there are areas of the county that it is never going to make financial sense to staff an ambulance. Our friends out in the Blacksville area, we have the county broken into zones, and probably an easy way to explain this is that for all of our zones, we base it on geography and physical barriers and roads and that type of thing. And they're all equal for the most part. But it's funny, you get downtown, you have a really small area, and it's a really populated zone, and then Blacksville is like everything west of Core. And for all of our ambulances to break even, we need about 6.2 calls per day, assuming that everybody had insurance and that insurance paid. Let's just assume that. Our friends in Blacksville, they average one call a day. So, you or I don't have to be accountants or CPAs to realize that that math doesn't add. And there's similar stories in the Clinton District, Halleck area. There's similar stories out in the Cheat Lake area. But then it's not just the rural areas. It's also things like we all know that the roof blew off the homeless shelter a few months ago, and it took a massive response for us because at the time we don't know if we have people trapped. We don't know how many people got hurt. We got to account for everyone. We've got to send the cavalry, and that's in town. Right, so this is not just the rural areas, but also making sure that if we had to take care of 30 patients, we ended up with 20-some folks on that scene until we were able to account for everyone, and then we were able to obviously release resources. At the end of the day, there's no one to send that bill to because the EMS reimbursement system is not made to bill for things that don't happen. So if we show up we're ready to provide care. We set up a staging area to collect all the patients, but none of the patients need it treated. Thankfully, like that's the outcome we all want, right? But there's no one to reimburse for that. So when you start talking about in addition to making sure that we have rural readiness and in-town readiness, and also some of these complex events that are very labor intensive and very intense, that's where this levy really helps to make sure that we're building the infrastructure for Mon County and to ensure the readiness and the availability for our citizens.
So do you have specific projects or initiatives in mind that the levy would support?
Absolutely. So out of the gate, the big thing is that, as you all know, I'm sure it's not a secret on any of your shows, is that all of us tend to be in a little bit of a labor shortage. So we want to continue to make sure that our wages stay competitive. But then we need to build the infrastructure for Mon County. We have folks, we have a lot of great landlords, and we're doing the best that we can. But we don't have EMS-specific stations out in the county. So, for example, in our Cheat Lake area right now, the ambulance sits outside, plugged in with a heater in it in the winters, make sure our medications don't freeze up. And we have a great landlord out there, but we're currently in an old doctor's office, which is great. Our folks have access to a restroom and a place to sit, hang out, but they don't necessarily have a place to decontaminate the ambulance. They have to come back to our main station to do that. There's not a logical place to put supplies, that type of thing. So making sure that the folks that you want to be your first responders have a place to respond from, that it can be a place of refuge if the power goes out in one part of the county, that the station has power, has water, has the facilities so that as the rest of us are dealing with a disaster or an emergency, that our first responders are ready to respond to that.
Talking to Forrest Weyen, he is the Executive Director for Mon EMS. We got to squeeze in another break. We'll continue our conversation in a moment. You're listening to Mon Health Talk on WAJR.
This is Mon Health Talk, providing a window into the Mon Health system and the dedicated healthcare providers who work there. If you'd like to comment or ask a question, please call 304-296-0041.
Forrest Weyen joining me in studio this morning. He is the Mon EMS Executive Director. We've been talking about the organization and the levy that is on the ballot. Give me the broad overview here, and we kind of touched on it in the last segment. If the levy is approved, and what's the scenario if the levy's rejected?
Well, and I think that's a real possibility. Obviously, we're asking voters, but I don't ever want to be a fearmonger or trying to
doom and gloom kind of guy,
doom and gloom
right.
type of thing. But I think then our leaders of the county commission, and I think Mon Health and WU have both promised to continue to support EMS. But I think we'll have to have real conversations on what level of service that we want to provide and what makes the most sense financially and what level of resources that we need to have. Our folks are happy to be here and happy to provide care, but I do think that we'll have to have very tough decisions on what that looks like going forward, making sure that all areas of the county are supported.
And again, that is on your ballot in Monongalia County. A yes vote. I mean, it's pretty simple. You're either for it or you're against it. Let me give you 60 seconds here, Forrest. You mentioned everybody's looking for people. Make your pitch. Why is becoming an EMT, a paramedic, working in this field? You've obviously chosen it as a career. You like it. I mean, what is special about it? What is appealing about this career?
There's a lot to get involved. It's a really exciting career. You're out instead of being in a studio, no offense, or behind a desk, is that you get to work in a variety of environments. You get to be, you are. I hate to sort of pitch it this way, but you are kind of where the action is, and you're helping people. You're being the best part of their worst day, so that whether it's in someone's living room having chest pain or a car wreck side of the road, overdose downtown, whatever is happening, that you're at a nexus in that person's life, and you're able to provide help, comfort, treatment, care, and it's a very rewarding career. It's difficult than it was 30 years ago, but it is the tip of the spear of the healthcare system. It provides a lot of value, and a lot of folks need it. As we all know, there's a ton of folks that don't have access to care that need it, and we like to be a part of that. And I think that it could be a stepping stone to other things: nursing, physician, PA, and it's a really rewarding thing. And I think getting in a good organization like Mon EMS is a great step.
He's Forrest Weyen. He is the Executive Director for Mon EMS. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
Coming up.